You've been lied to by dealerships, service writers, and even by the shiny owner's manual that came with your car. That's why most cars never make it past 100,000 miles before something big and expensive fails. Engines die early, transmissions slip, suspensions collapse, and everyone says, that's normal. Cars just don't last anymore. That's not true. Today I'm going to give you 12 brutally honest car habits that can help your car reach 250,000 or even 300,000 miles without turning you into a full-time mechanic. These are not magic tricks. They're the simple things that real long-term owners do and that lazy mechanics and dealerships don't want to talk about, because a car that doesn't break doesn't make them money. Watch until the end, because the last tip takes just a few seconds every time you park, but skipping it can easily cost you several $1,000s in repairs. Let's get into it. Tip number 12, stop trusting perfect conditions oil intervals. If you blindly follow the longest oil change interval from the brochure, you're not being smart, you're slowly cooking your engine. Those up to 10,000 mile or 15,000 mile intervals are calculated in a lab under perfect conditions. No traffic, no short trips, no cold starts, no dusty roads, perfect fuel, perfect everything. Now think about your driving. Do you sit in traffic? Do you make short trips to the store and back? Do you start the car, drive 5 minutes, and shut it off? Do you live where it gets hot or very cold? All of that destroys the oil way before that long interval is up. I've opened engines that follow the dealer's schedule perfectly. On paper, they were maintained. Inside, thick black sludge baked onto everything, like burnt lasagna. Oil passages half-blocked, camshaft scarred, timing components worn out. Here's a simple rule. If you actually want your engine to live, with conventional oil, change it every 3,000 miles. With full synthetic, every 5,000 to 7,000 miles, depending on how hard you drive and how hot your climate is. Yes, that's more frequent than the brochure says. Yes, it costs a little more over the year, but a $40 to $70 oil change now is a lot cheaper than a $4,000 engine later. Fresh oil is the cheapest insurance policy for your car. Tip number 11, don't warm up your car by idling forever. A lot of people still believe the old myth. I let my car idle for 10 or 15 minutes every morning, so I'm treating it nicely. No, you're not treating it nicely. You're slowly poisoning it. Here's what really happens. After about 30 seconds of idling, the engine is running rich. Extra fuel is used to keep it running smoothly while it's cold. That unburned fuel starts washing down the cylinder walls, thinning out the oil film that's supposed to protect your pistons. Your expensive synthetic oil turns into a thin, fuel-diluted soup long before it reaches its mileage limit. I've drained oil that poured out like dirty water because the owner let the car idle forever every winter. The engines had worn rings, scored cylinder walls, and low compression, all from being gentle. If you want your engine to last, start the car. Let it idle 20 to 30 seconds so the oil can circulate. Then drive gently for the first couple miles. No racing, no full throttle, just smooth driving. Oil temperature rises several times faster while driving and while idling, so the engine actually warms up faster and spends less time in that dangerous cold-rich zone. You save the engine, you save fuel, and you save time. Idling in the driveway doesn't protect your car. It just wastes fuel and wears it out quietly. Tip number 10, never top off after the pump clicks. We've all seen people do this at the gas station. The pump clicks, stops, and they squeeze it again and again, and one more time just to round it up. They think they're getting extra value. What they're really doing is loading raw fuel into a system that was meant only for vapor. Your gas tank is designed with an air pocket, so fuel vapors can move into the EVAP system, a series of valves, lines, and a charcoal canister. When you top off repeatedly, liquid fuel gets forced into those vapor lines. The canister gets soaked, valves get stuck, sensors fail. I've replaced dozens of EVAP canisters and valves that were ruined by people rounding up their fill. The bill? Anywhere from $350 to $900, sometimes more on certain models. On top of that, an overfilled tank can actually spill fuel out of vent lines, especially on hot days when gas expands. All of this from chasing the last few cents of gasoline. So here's the rule. When the pump clicks, you're finished. Hang the nozzle back up, close the cap, and walk away. You're not shortchanging yourself. You're protecting a very expensive part of your car. Tip number 9. Service your transmission before it asks for help. Most people treat their transmission like it's immortal. They never think about it until the first time it slips going into gear, shudders on acceleration, or bangs when changing gears. At that point, it's not a fluid change issue anymore. It's a thousands of dollars problem. Transmission fluid doesn't get topped up like engine oil. It's sealed inside, constantly exposed to heat and friction. By 60,000 miles, even fluid that still looks red and doesn't smell burnt is usually loaded with microscopic metal particles, clutch dust, and degraded additives. Think of it like liquid sandpaper moving through tiny passages and valves. If you wait for symptoms, you're already too late. Here's a simple schedule. For most automatic cars, drain and fill every 60,000 miles or 6 years. For hybrids, you can stretch to 80 to 90,000 miles, but don't play games. And please, always use the correct OEM fluid. Not something read from the parts store, but the exact type your car calls for. One more warning. If a transmission has never been serviced and now has very high mileage, a high-pressure flush can sometimes do more harm than good by dislodging sludge. In that case, do a gentle drain and fill, maybe twice, rather than a full-power flush. Take care of the transmission, and it will outlast the rest of the car. Ignore it, and you're rolling the dice with a very expensive piece of hardware. Tip number 8, brake with your eyes, not with your panic foot. A lot of drivers treat every stoplight like a finish line. Gas, 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 and then slam the brakes at the last second. That driving style doesn't just waste fuel, it punishes your brake system. Every panic stop sends a huge burst of heat into your rotors and pads. Do that over and over, and you'll end up with warped rotors, glazed pads, cooked brake fluid, and a spongy pedal. I've seen family cars need complete brake jobs at 20 to 25,000 miles, just because the driver was always rushing and braking hard. Here's the smarter way. Look far down the road. If you see a red light or traffic slowing, lift off the throttle early. Let the car coast. Use gentle, steady braking instead of last-second stabs. On long hills, shift down a gear and let engine braking help. This one change can easily double the life of your pads and rotors. And when you finally replace them by decent parts, cheap bargain pads often squeal, dust heavily, and wear out faster. Smooth drivers don't just feel calmer behind the wheel. They also spend a lot less money at the repair shop. Tip number 7, respect your coolant and your temperature gauge. Engines today are made mostly of aluminum. Aluminum is strong and light, but it hates high heat. One serious overheat can warp an aluminum cylinder head, crush a head gasket, and turn a perfectly good engine into a $3,000 to $4,000 problem. If your temperature gauge ever creeps toward the red, or a big red temp warning shows up on the dash, you're in the danger zone. Here's what you don't do. Don't turn the heater off and hope it goes down. Don't say, "I'm almost home. It'll make it." Don't keep driving, just one more exit. What you do is find a safe place to pull over. Turn the engine off. Let it cool completely. Call for a tow if needed. A tow is cheap compared to a warped head and a full teardown. For prevention, change your coolant every 3 to 5 years, depending on the type. Check the level once a month. And never mix random coolant colors just because they're on sale. Different coolants have different chemical packages. Mixing them can cause deposits, corrosion, and clogged passages. Use exactly what your manufacturer recommends. Coolant is not just colored water. It's critical chemistry, keeping your engine alive. Tip number 6, low coolant means a leak, not normal. Some drivers treat their coolant reservoir like a bottle of washer fluid. Oh, it's a little low again. I'll just top it off. If you have to add coolant regularly, you do not have a thirsty car. You have a leak or a more serious issue. It might be a radiator with a tiny crack, an old hose seeping under pressure, a water pump that only leaks when hot, a heater core soaking your carpets, or even a slow head gasket leak sending coolant into the exhaust. Many of these don't leave big puddles where you park, so people assume everything is fine. But coolant doesn't evaporate on its own. If it's disappearing, it's going somewhere. The proper way to check is with a cooling system pressure test. Engine stone cold. System pressurize the spec with a hand pump. Then you watch to see if the pressure drops. And look carefully for wet spots and drips. This is how you catch the killer while it's still cheap to fix. Instead of waiting for the engine to overheat on the highway, topping off without finding the leak is just buying time, not safety. Tip number 5. Empty the junk out of your car. Let's talk about weight. Most people have no idea how much stuff they're hauling around every day. Toolboxes from a job 3 months ago, sports gear, cases of water, old baby strollers, half a garage in the trunk, just in case. Every extra 100 pounds doesn't just cost fuel, it beats up your suspension, brakes, and tires. I've had crossovers come into the shop riding like they're 20 years old. The springs are sagged, shocks blown, tires worn in strange patterns. And then I look inside, and it's packed floor to ceiling with heavy junk. Your car has a payload rating. Check the sticker in the driver's door jamb. That number includes passengers and cargo together. If you're always loaded near the limit, all that extra weight shows up as worn bushings and ball joints, cracked springs, overheated brakes, and premature tire wear. Do your car a favor. Once a month, open the trunk and the back seats. Take out everything you don't really need to keep there. Travel lighter and your suspension, brakes, and wallet will all breathe easier. Tip number 4, don't ignore weird sounds. Cars don't speak English, but they do talk. They talk in ticks, clunks, whines, knocks, and squeals. Too many drivers turn the radio up a little louder and pretend the noise isn't there. That's like muting a smoke alarm. A squealing belt today can be a dead alternator tomorrow. A faint clunk when turning can be a failing CV joint that eventually snaps and leaves you stranded. A light ticking from the top of the engine might be low oil starving the valve train. Here's how to be smart about it. Listen with the radio off once in a while. If you hear something odd, note when it happens. Only when cold. Only over bumps. Only while turning or braking. Note roughly where it sounds like it's coming from. Then get it checked before it becomes catastrophic. Mechanics love customers who ignore noises until they break something big. Don't be that customer. Catching problems early is often the difference between a $60 repair and a $600 disaster. Tip number 3, keep at least a quarter tank of fuel. I get it, gas is expensive, but constantly driving with the fuel light on isn't just stressful, it's hard on your fuel system. Your fuel pump sits inside the tank, submerged in gasoline. The fuel isn't just there to be burned, it also cools and lubricates the pump. When you always run on fumes, the pump sucks in hot air, and whatever fuel is left at the very bottom. That leads to overheating, dried seals, and a pump that burns out way earlier than it should. On top of that, all the dirt and sediment that naturally collects at the bottom of the tank gets stirred up and pulled into the filter and injectors. The result? Rough idle, hesitation, clogged filters, and eventually, a no start and a $400 to $800 repair. You don't need to keep the tank full all the time. Just try to never let it drop below 1/4. Think of that last quarter not as extra fuel, but as a safety zone for your pump and injectors. Tip number 2, clean your battery terminals regularly. Pop the hood and take a look at your battery. If the terminals are covered in white or green crust, that's not just ugly, it's choking your electrical system. That corrosion increases resistance. Your starter has to work harder, your alternator has to push harder, and sensitive electronics get unstable voltage. I've had cars towed in as dead, where the only repair needed was 10 minutes of cleaning battery terminals. Here's a simple routine you can follow. Every few months, turn the car off, open the hood, inspect the battery posts and clamps. If you see fuzz or crust, clean it. You can use a mixture of baking soda and water, a wire brush, or a dedicated battery terminal cleaner. Once it's clean and dry, Coat the terminals with a thin layer of dielectric grease or a battery terminal protector spray. That tiny bit of maintenance prevents a lot of no-start mornings and unnecessary parts replacements. Tip number 1, use your parking brake. Every time, everywhere. Most drivers think the P position on the shifter is all they need. They only touch the parking brake on steep hills, or maybe never at all. Inside your automatic transmission is a small metal piece called the parking pawl. When you shift into park, that little pawl locks into a gear to stop the car from rolling. If you park on any kind of slope without setting the parking brake first, the entire weight of the vehicle is resting on that tiny piece of metal. Do that day after day, year after year, and eventually it can crack or break. When it fails, the car can roll unexpectedly, and fixing it usually means opening the transmission, a repair that can cost $2,000 to $3,000 or more. The correct habit is simple. While you're holding the regular brake pedal, set the parking brake first, then shift into park. When you leave, do the opposite. Foot on brake, shift out of park, then release the parking brake. Do this on hills, in driveways, even on flat parking lots. Make it automatic, like putting on your seatbelt. Your parking brake was built to hold the car still. Your transmission's parking pawl was not built to hold the whole car on a hill by itself. Use both, and your transmission will thank you by lasting much longer. OUTRO, if you start applying even half of these habits, you're already miles ahead of the average driver whose car dies young and expensively. Let's quickly recap. Shorter, realistic oil intervals. No long idling in the driveway. No topping off after the pump clicks. Regular transmission service before it slips. Smooth, early braking instead of panic stops. Respect for coolant and temperature. Treating low coolant as a warning, not a mystery. Removing unnecessary weight from the car. Listening to strange noises early. Keeping at least a quarter tank of fuel. Cleaning battery terminals. And using your parking brake every time you park. None of these tips require fancy tools or advanced skills. They just require a little awareness and small changes in your habits. Do them consistently, and your car can easily become one of those rare 300,000-mile stories. Instead of another, it died at 120K complaint. If this kind of no-nonsense car advice helps you, hit subscribe and ring the bell, because in the next video, I'm going to show you the most common repair shop scams and how to spot them before your wallet becomes their next victim. Thanks for watching. Drive safe and take care of your car, because it's the only one you have.